So ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve here with my audio stuff, and I'm going to introduce everybody to my crown jewel of my audio collection. This is about a 1964 Fisher 800C stereo receiver. And for the 800 line, I'm not going to speak for the other ones. They had the 500s and the 400s. This is the first MPX receiver that they had in this particular line. That is, it's designed to receive the same kind of FM stereo broadcasts as we have today. And when this thing does receive a broadcast, and I'll actually turn it on to the FM automatic, it'll light that. See, it'll light it up. It'll light the beacon up, and then of course it has a meter there, stereo beacon. This is an extremely potent receiver. I think it's rated at about 35-40 watts per channel. I used to have this thing hooked up to some Harman Kardon bookshelf speakers. They were the Harman Kardon 20s. And this thing performed superbly. And I played Michael Jackson, Lady Gaga, you name it. Hard-hitting digital stuff with bass punch, brass punch, you name it. And this thing handled it effortlessly. This is about 15 to 30,000 hertz. That's about what the power bandwidth is on this particular thing. Just listening to it, I would say it has excellent slew rate, excellent transit response. It's a very capable receiver. It's interesting to note that, yeah, they had vacuum tubes in the 50s and 60s, but they still got basically the same sound that we get today, but they did it with vacuum tubes. That's what's so surprising. This is a complement of 22 tubes that incorporate the preamplifier circuits here, the radio circuits here, and then the amplifier driver circuits. The amplifier itself has a complement of 4 7591s, and then of course the impedance slash isolation transformer here, or transformers, and then the two driver tubes. Those are 12AX7As, by the way, that drive the amplifier. So the whole amplifier circuit, just 6 tubes. So if we produced a 35 watt amp today, it would probably have, I'm judging probably, I don't know, 16 transistors, but it wouldn't be, it would take a lot more transistors to equal what the tubes do. You know, one tube, because these are high voltage, they probably have the gain of 2 or 3 transistors in general. This is the FM section here, MPX 65. That's what takes a signal and converts it, or I'm sorry, decodes it into stereo, and then the rest of the tuner section for the FM, and then the tuner section, tube section for the AM. And then, of course, this is one of the phono tubes, and that's the other one. And then these here, these are all 12AX7As, one for the low end and one for the high end. So the entire preamp circuit on this thing is just 4 tubes. The entire amplifier section of this thing is just 6 tubes. And then the rest of the tubes, of course, incorporate the AM/FM stereo tuner. Interesting thing about the tuner in this model, it's rated at 1.8 microvolts. I mean, that is unbelievable sensitivity for 1963, 1964, when they were selling these. And what that means practically, that's really all I care about, is that you can be in fringe areas and this thing still has remarkable sensitivity. It's able to pick up, you know, fairly weak stations and still give them to you in decent low noise stereo operations. So anyway, this is a great receiver, 1964. Surprisingly, the tubes that I've had to replace are some of the tubes in the tuner circuits, not the amplifier tubes, surprisingly enough, even though they run hotter, and you know, these are the 7591s in the back. Anyway, excellent unit. I got this from a guy out in New York who rebuilt them about 20 years ago. And I have done, you know, a moderate amount of work since then. This thing has had all the capacitors, which you can't see underneath, that is replaced on it. It's had diodes, new diodes put into it, just a bunch of different things done to it. But this is really a remarkable receiver. You can get it with the wood cabinet. I've opted not to do that just for ventilation purposes, and the fact that I just enjoy having it open so I can look at all the tubes and things like that about it. But again, audio wise, this is a definite competitor. Excellent frequency response. I think the signal to noise ratio on this thing is about 83 dB, which is remarkably quiet for a stereo tube receiver of this vintage. So decent power output, excellent transit response. This is definitely a receiver for audiophiles, people who like to do serious critical listening. And again, it's no slouch if you want to play Lady Gaga, if you want to play, Poker Face on it, you want to play Halsey's, I'm bad at love, which has some very difficult digital bass passages to play. This thing will play them effortlessly. So once again, this is the Fisher 800C, and this dates from about 1964. That's the year I was born. And this, of course, is my audio stuff. Check out some of my other sites, like A Father's Devotions. And that there's also a link for that on this site here. God bless you all.